Stay with me, he said. Come on, Miss Kane. Stay with me. Tell me about these people you're so scared of. Her head lolled against the seat. My father, William Kane, he owns half of this city, maybe more, and he owns me too, since I was born. Every choice, every breath, she gasped, her hand flying to her side. He arranged a marriage. To Marcus Thornwell. Do you know who that is? Should I? Thornwell Steele. Old money. Older power. He's a monster, but he's the right kind of monster. The kind father approves of. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I ran. Tonight was supposed to be the engagement party. 500 guests. The mayor. The governor. And I couldn't do it. I climbed out a window and I ran. Jack's hands tightened on the wheel. He'd heard stories like this before, though never from someone wearing $10,000 worth of jewelry. The golden cage was still a cage, no matter how pretty the bars. You're 28 years old, and your father's selling you off like livestock? I'm 32, Elliot said with a ghost of a smile. And yes, that's exactly what he's doing. Because I'm not a person to William Kane. I'm an asset, a chess piece. And if I don't do what he says, she broke off, her breath hitching. He'll cut me off. He'll destroy my career. He'll make sure I never work again, never have anything again. I'll be nothing. You'd rather be nothing than marry that man? I'd rather die, she said simply, and then her eyes rolled back and she went limp. Jack's heart stopped. No. Elliot. He slammed his palm on the horn, leaning on it as he flew through a red light, the hospital's emergency entrance blazing like a beacon 3 blocks ahead. Come on, stay with me. Don't you dare die on me. He screeched into the ambulance bay with a squeal of tires that brought nurses and doctors running. Jack was out of the truck before it fully stopped, yanking open the passenger door and catching Elliot as she started to slide out. Help! She's had internal bleeding, probably appendix. She's been symptomatic for at least an hour. The ER team swarmed them, lifting Elliot onto a gurney, shouting medical jargon Jack only half understood. He tried to follow, but a nurse stopped him, her hand firm on his chest. Sir, you need to wait here. Are you family? No, I just found her. In an alley. She needs help. We've got her. The nurse's eyes softened slightly. You did good. Now, let us work. And then they were gone, disappearing through the automatic doors with Elliot's unconscious form, leaving Jack standing alone in the rain, his heart hammering against his ribs like it was trying to escape. He should leave, should get in his truck and drive away and forget this ever happened. Go home to Emma, make her breakfast, live his simple life. But he couldn't make his feet move. So he walked inside, dripping water all over the linoleum, and found a hard plastic chair in the waiting room. And he waited. 3 hours later, a surgeon in blood-spattered scrubs came through the doors. Family of Elliot Kane? Jack stood. I'm the one who brought her in. Is she? She's alive. Barely. Her appendix had ruptured. She was about 30 minutes from septic shock. The surgeon looked at Jack with something like awe. You save her life. Another hour, and we'd have been planning a funeral. He paused. She's been asking for you. The man who found her. I told her she needs to rest, but she's insistent. Jack followed the surgeon through the maze of hallways to a private room where Elliot lay pale and small against white sheets, and 4 in her arm and monitors beeping steadily beside her. Her eyes opened when he walked in, and something flickered across her face. Relief, maybe, or gratitude, or something else he couldn't name. You stayed, she said, her voice hoarse. Wanted to make sure you didn't die out of spite, Jack said gruffly, staying near the door like he might. Bolt at any second. A smile tugged at her lips. I'm harder to kill than I look. The smile faded. They call my family. The hospital. Standard procedure for emergency surgery. My father will be here soon. You scared? Terrified. She looked at him with those green eyes that seemed to see straight through him. Why did you do it? Why did you help me? You didn't know me. You don't owe me anything. Jack shrugged, uncomfortable under her gaze. Because you needed help. That's reason enough. No one in my world thinks like that, Elliot said quietly. In my world, everything is a transaction, a calculated move. You help someone because you want something from them. Because there's an angle. What's your angle, Jack Morrison? He blinked. How do you know my name? She gestured weakly at his coveralls. It's embroidered on your pocket. Morrison's Auto Repair. Your name's on the side of your truck, too. There's no angle, Jack said. I've got a 15-year-old daughter to raise and a shop to run. That's my life. That's all I want. A daughter. Elliot's expression softened. Is her mother dead? Cancer. For years ago. I am sorry. Don't be. Sarah was the best thing that ever happened to me. Emma's the second best. He shifted his weight, suddenly desperate to leave this sterile room with its machines and its dying flowers. Look, you're safe now. You're going to be fine. I should go. Wait. Elliot's hand shot out, grabbing his wrist with surprising strength. Please, just until my father gets here. I don't want to face him alone. So Jack stayed, sinking into the chair beside her bed, and they talked. Or rather, Elliot talked, and Jack listened as she spilled out her story in a morphine-soft voice. Growing up in a mansion that felt like a prison, a mother who died when she was 12, a father who never learned how to love anything except his empire, a brother who was being groomed to take over while Elliot was groomed to marry well and produce heirs and smile at Charity Gallus. She talked about Marcus Thornwell with a tremor in her voice, about the way he looked at her like she was a prize he'd already won, about the bruises on her wrist from the last time she told him no. And Jack, who'd never had more than $500 in his bank account at any given time, who'd married his high school sweetheart and counted himself the luckiest man alive, felt a rage building in his chest that he hadn't felt since Sarah's diagnosis. Why don't you just leave? He asked. Pack a bag and disappear. Start over somewhere else. With what? Elliot's laugh was bitter. I don't have access to my trust fund until I'm 35. Everything I have, my apartment, my car, my credit cards, it's all in my father's name. If I run, he'll freeze everything. I'll have nothing. And I'm not. I don't know how to be nothing. I've never worked a real job. Never had to. I have degrees in art history and French literature, and I've sat on a dozen nonprofit boards, but none of that pays rent. So learn, Jack said simply. You're smart, aren't you? Learn to do something useful. Wait tables. Answer phones. Clean houses. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work, and it's yours. Elliot stared at him like he'd suggested she grow wings and fly. You make it sound so simple. It is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Jack leaned forward. You said you'd rather die than marry that man. Well, dying's easy too. Actually living, on your own terms, that's the hard part. Before Elliot could respond, the door burst open and a man strode in like he owned not just the room, but the entire hospital. William Kane was 65 and looked 50, with silver hair and a face that had been handsome before it hardened into permanent disapproval. Behind him came a younger version of himself, Elliot's brother, Connor, and a third man in an expensive suit who Jack immediately disliked. Marcus Thornwell looked at Elliot, like she was a horse he was considering buying. Elliot, William's voice could have frozen hell. What were you thinking? Hello, Father, Elliot said quietly. I'm fine. Thank you for asking. The surgery went well. Don't be flippant. Do you have any idea what you've done? 500 guests were waiting. The governor had cleared his schedule, and you climbed out a window like some common teenager and disappeared. His eyes landed on Jack. And who is this? This is Jack Morrison, Elliot said, her voice gaining strength. He saved my life. Did he? William looked Jack up and down, taking in the oil-stained coveralls, the work boots, the calloused hands. How fortunate. We're very grateful, Mr. Morrison. Connor, see that this man receives appropriate compensation for his trouble. 5,000 should suffice. Jack stood slowly. I don't want your money. Everyone wants money, Mr. Morrison. Don't be ridiculous. I said no. The room went very quiet. Marcus Thornwell leaned against the wall with a smirk, clearly enjoying the show. Connor looked uncomfortable, and William Kane looked at Jack like he was a particularly irritating insect. Elliot, William said, turning his back on Jack as if he'd ceased to exist. We're going to get you transferred to a private hospital. This place is barely adequate. And then we're going to reschedule the engagement party for next month. Marcus has been very understanding about your little episode. It wasn't an episode, Elliot said, and her voice shook but didn't break. It was a choice. You don't get to make that choice. I'm 32 years old, and you're still my daughter. You're still dependent on me for everything. Unless you'd like to test how well you do on your own. William smiled, and it was the cruelest thing Jack had ever seen. By all means, Elliot, walk away. See how far you get without my name, my money, my connections. You'll be back in a week begging. Jack saw Elliot's face crumple, saw the defeat settling over her like a shroud, and something snapped inside him. She can stay with me. Every head in the room turned. Excuse me, William said. I've got a spare room. Jack continued, his heart pounding but his voice steady. My daughter would love the company. Elliot can stay as long as she needs while she figures things out. No strings attached. Marcus laughed, actually laughed. This is absurd. Elliot Kane, living in some mechanic's hovel? Please. It's not a hovel, Jack said evenly. It's a home. Maybe you should try one sometime. Marcus stopped laughing. William's face had gone very red. Mr. Morrison, I don't know what you think you're doing, but I suggest you stop. Now, you have no idea who you're dealing with. A bully who uses money to control people, Jack said. Yeah, I've got a pretty good idea. He looked at Elliot. Your choice. But if you want out, the door's open. No one owns you unless you let them. The silence stretched like taffy. Then Elliot pushed herself up in bed, wincing at the pain, and said 5 words that changed everything. I'm going with him, Father. William's expression went from red to purple. You will not. I will. I'll cut you off. Effective immediately. Do it, Elliot. Marcus pushed off the wall, his voice going soft and dangerous. Think about what you're saying. Think about what you're throwing away. For what? For this nobody. This nobody, Elliot said clearly, did more for me in 1 hour than any of you have done in 32 years. So yes, Marcus, I'm choosing him. Connor cleared his throat. Ellie, maybe you should think about this. You can't just. I can and I am. Elliot looked at her father. I'm done, Dad. I'm done being your chess piece. I'm done with charity galas and society pages and marrying the right man to secure the right merger. I'm done living in your shadow. So yes, cut me off. Take it all. I don't care anymore. William Kane stared at his daughter for a long moment, and Jack saw something flicker across his face. Surprise, maybe, or hurt, or the closest thing to respect this man was capable of. And it was gone, replaced by ice. You'll regret this. Probably, Elliot said, but it'll be my regret, not yours. William turned on his heel and walked out without another word. Connor lingered, gave Elliot a look that might have been apologetic, and followed. Marcus stayed long enough to say, when you come crawling back, and you will, don't expect me to be waiting. Then he was gone too. The door swung shut, and Elliot let out a breath that turned into a laugh that turned into tears. Jack didn't know what to do, so he did what he'd done when Emma cried. He sat on the edge of the bed and let Elliot lean against his shoulder while she shook and sobbed and laughed all at once. I just walked away from $300 million, she said into his oil-stained coveralls. What's wrong with me? Nothing, Jack said firmly. Not a damn thing. 3 days later, Jack carried Elliot's single suitcase, the only thing she dared to retrieve from her apartment before her father locked her out, up the steps of his 2-bedroom house in a neighborhood that had seen better days. Emma waited on the porch, eyes wide with curiosity at this pale, thin woman her father had brought home. Emma, this is Elliot, Jack said. She's going to be staying with us for a while. Cool, Emma said. Can you help me with my French homework? Dad's useless at languages. Elliot laughed, her first real laugh in days, and said, I can do that. That was the beginning. The first week was hard. Elliot had never cooked a meal in her life, never washed her own clothes, never done dishes or vacuumed, or any of the 1,000 small things that made up daily life. She burned toast and shrunk Jack's favorite shirt in the dryer and cried over the want ads because she didn't qualify for any of them. But she didn't give up. She learned. She adapted. She got a job answering phones at a dental office for $11 an hour and came home with blisters on her feet from standing all day, and she smiled through it like she'd won the lottery. Emma adored her. Jack tried not to. He failed spectacularly. It happened in small moments. Elliot laughing at his terrible jokes. Elliot teaching Emma to speak French with a terrible American accent. Elliot curled up on his sagging couch reading Emma's library books because she couldn't afford to buy her own. It happened on the night she helped him rebuild an engine, her hands getting dirty for the first time in her life, her eyes bright with fascination as he showed her how the pieces fit together. It happened when she got her first paycheck and cried over it like it was $1 million. For months in, Jack admitted to himself what he'd probably known since that rainy night in the alley. He was in love with Elliot Kane. 6 months in, sitting on the porch at midnight after Emma had gone to bed, Elliot told him she loved him too. "I don't know how it happened," she said, her hand finding his in the darkness. "I just know that I've never been happier than I am right now, sitting on this broken porch with you." "It's not broken," Jack protested. "It's rustic. It's broken." She laughed. "But I love it anyway. I love all of this. I love the way Emma looks at me like I'm cool instead of just an asset. I love going to work and earning my own money. I love coming home to you." She paused. "Is that crazy? Am I crazy?" "Probably," Jack said, and kissed her under the stars that barely showed through the city light pollution. They got married 6 months after that in a courthouse with Emma as their witness and a bouquet from the grocery store. No guests, no gala, no 500-person spectacle, just vows and rings and love. 2 years later, William Kane died of a heart attack in his office, alone except for his secretary. The whole reading was a circus. Connor got the company. Marcus got nothing. And Elliot got a letter, handwritten in her father's spidery script, that Jack found her crying over in their bedroom. "What does it say?" he asked gently. She handed it to him with shaking hands. Jack read, "Elliot, you were right. I was a bully and a coward who hid behind money because I didn't know how to love. I don't expect your forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that in the end, you were the only one of my children who had the courage to choose your own life. I'm proud of you. I should have said that a long time ago. The trust fund is yours, no strings attached. Use it for something that matters. Love, Dad." Elliot inherited $30 million. She and Jack opened a foundation that helped women escape abusive relationships and controlling families. They called it Sarah's House, after Jack's first wife, and they ran it together. Elliot with her nonprofit experience and her connections, Jack with his common sense and his absolute refusal to let bureaucracy get in the way of helping people. Emma went to college on a full scholarship, came home every Christmas with stories and boyfriends, and eventually a fiancé who Jack pretended to intimidate but secretly adored. Marcus Thornwell married someone else and got divorced twice. Connor ran Kane Industries into the ground and sold it for parts. And Jack and Elliot lived in that same small house with a rustic porch because it turned out that happiness had nothing to do with square footage and everything to do with the people inside. On the 10th anniversary of the night Jack found Elliot in that alley, they went back to the same spot, cleaned up now, turned into a pocket park by the city. They stood in the rain, by choice this time, holding hands. "Do you ever regret it?" Jack asked, walking away from all of it. Elliot looked at him with those green eyes that still made his heart stop, and she smiled. "I walked away from a cage made of gold," she said, "and I found a life made of love. So no, Jack Morrison, I don't regret a single second." And she kissed him in the rain, right where he'd save her life by refusing to let her die alone in the darkness. And Jack knew with absolute certainty that some fortunes couldn't be measured in dollars. Some wealth couldn't be counted in a bank account. And the greatest inheritance anyone could give was the courage to choose their own path. Even if that path started in an alley, in the rain, with a stranger who refused to walk away.